Okay, we're back. This is the Intervention Channel. I'm Steve Bruno, and this is part 2 of Into the Lion's Den. And we left off with the idea that one does not have to get an addict to admit that he has, not only does one not have to get him to admit that he has a problem in order for treatment to work, you don't want to try. Don't go down that road. Forget it. It's not a bonus. It is a bane. It will be a bane to your existence to try to get the person to make some kind of confession. You're going to, group everybody together with whom the addict has been staunchly dishonest and remains deliberately so. You're going to offer him or her something he doesn't want to do. And then the expectation is what? That a tear will gently fall down his cheek and he'll somehow admit to everything he's doing to his mom? What the fuck? Like, that's the stupidest idea that I have ever heard, and I'm not saying you are stupid. I'm just saying that whoever came up with this was in fact a genius, because they really saturated society with this idea pretty easily, and everybody bought it for some reason, or a lot of people buy it. Well, if he doesn't admit to having a problem, then treatment won't work. Anyway, I'm not going to belabor the subject. So I came in and I sat down with the family, and I asked them questions. And this is a very common practice for me and any good interventions. I asked them a bunch of questions. I mean, if any interventionist tells you he knows exactly what to do before he's interviewed you, fully interviewed the family, I move on. I mean, people who do this sort of formula approach and are able to, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this. Guy doesn't know what the fuck to do. I mean, before you really get into the mix, before you get into the game, you don't know what moves you're going to make. It's kind of like asking a chess player what plays are you going to make, and he's going to tell you exactly what plays he's going to make. He doesn't know, because he doesn't know what his opponent is going to do. So anyway, okay. So I sat down and I interviewed the family, and I asked at one point, has he recently been in love? And it was just a question based on my own life and my own. Anyway, I asked this question, and the parents shook their heads, and the sisters were like nodding their heads, looking at me. So I asked, and mom and dad said, look, he was dating this girl, Mary, but we don't want to involve her because he really betrayed her. He hurt her a lot. So I understood. How can one not understand that? Of course, with a drug addict, the betrayals, the lies, the dishonesty, hiring prostitutes probably, or whatever, fairly common practice for meth and cocaine addicts. So what I did is I let the conversation roll along. And then I casually asked to go for a walk with each person individually. I said, well, I would like to speak with each person individually away from the other family members. So I took one of the sisters who was nodding her head earlier when I asked a question, and I took her for a walk. I said, what's up? Why were you nodding your head so vigorously? And she says, well, actually, when Mary left him is when he really, really fell off. Really started to spiral downwards a lot. He got much, much worse. He's really in love with her, really loved her, and was very regretful of the betrayals that he had done, and certainly took an enormous loss when she left. And I asked her how recent it was. It happened to be very recent. Yeah. And was he still in love with her? Oh, yeah. She said, oh, yeah. She says he felt that was the reason for his isolation. So I thought, okay, this could be money in the bank. So I went back to the house. First, I got Mary's number. I called her, and I introduced myself. I said, I know, I'm not here to, as a counselor or something, for you to and try to repair anything. I understand what happened, but, David is killing himself. And I was wondering if you could help me at least get him out of there and get him into this program. She said, sure. She said, I don't, she said, I resent him, but I don't want him to die. I'm not that resentful. So she said, sure. I said, okay, well, meet me at the so-and-so coffee shop. And so we set up a coffee date, and I went back to the house. And here's another thing that I learned. The mother, again, sat down with me and said, okay, well, we've been working on our letters. I hadn't even brought up the subject of letters. She said, well, we've been working on our letters, and we're wondering how we're gonna do this ambush on David. I mean, how are we gonna, it was like she had already formulated based on, there's no fault of hers, but she had already formulated an intervention based on probably a book that she read. The television show wasn't out back then, I don't think. This was in 2002, way back, nearly 20 years ago. I'm pretty sure the television show was not out, but she did have this idea of what the intervention was going to be. And the words of the director came echoing back into my mind: don't let the mother boss you around. Don't, if she knew what she was doing, you wouldn't have to be hired. So don't let people dictate what you do. You do what you think is going to work. I told her, I said, well, give me some time. I'm going to go, and I didn't want to get into it about Mary and fight with them or argue about it. So I just said, look, give me a little bit of time. I'm going to go and try to meet with David. And so we'll cover the coffee meeting with Mary and the meeting with David in part 3 of Into the Lion's Den. You just click on part 3 when it comes up at the end of this video. For professionals, you want to definitely subscribe, even if you're a loved one, if you want to subscribe and share this with other people. I've put a lot of resources here to educate people, to illuminate how to win the game of doing an intervention so that you get a positive result. You can buy my book. It's called More Than Hope. That's available on Amazon and Kindle. Into the Lion's Den is a chapter that's in there. And there's all kinds of good information in there. And you can contact me at stevebruno.com. Ask your questions in the comments section below so everybody can see the answer. And if you have any suggestions on other topics, I'm always open. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Let's get to part 3. Thank you for visiting the Intervention channel. I'm Steve Bruno, and thank you for watching.